What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Lab podcast. I'm your host, Coach A, and no guards today, so we're here with...
Coach Hugo.
What's up, HP?
What's going on?
We did one of these before with Hugo, but unfortunately the audio got corrupted, which is a funny way of saying it because it makes it sound like it was devious, but really it was just trash quality.
Just bad tech.
Bad tech. So it was an opportunity for him to dip his toe in the water, lose his podcasting virginity. And now he's back.
We're back.
What's going
better
on?
than ever.
Are you coming up on your second year anniversary yet with the company?
Yeah.
When? Next week?
Probably in like
2 weeks?
3 weeks, I'd say. Ish. 4 weeks.
We'll get you a cake.
I don't need a cake.
No, we'll get you a steak.
I'm good. Give me a protein shake.
We'll do a nice steak with 2 candles on it.
That sounds good.
So,
yeah, coming up soon, almost 2 years.
It's kind of a funny story, I guess. So we'll talk a little bit about your background. And then we'll hop in on today's topics. Maybe we'll pop around a little bit. I know we were talking about the Caps game off camera just before we started, so we can chat on that.
Caps and Canes.
But you ended up here on a DM, basically.
Yeah, basically a cold DM.
A cold DM.
Just a sales tactic.
Something that we don't do.
Yeah. So pretty much I was... I'd been in the industry for a few years at this point. Wanted to work in sport performance since I went to school. A few things happened. COVID happened, so things were shut down for a while. So I think that was part of why I maybe didn't get in sooner into this industry. But was personal training for quite some time. Decided I didn't like where I was headed with my career anymore. So I'd known about GR for a long time. I'd actually followed you personally for, I don't know, a few years at this point. We actually chatted on DM once, like you wouldn't even remember it. But you did like a webinar for Design for Sports, I think.
Yeah.
And I asked you a few questions, and pretty much your advice back then was just you need to do an internship. You didn't say who with, so I took a few years for that advice to land. Didn't like my job anymore, so I shot you a DM. It would have been mid-March, I think. So I think interns were already closed at that point.
Oh, yeah, they were. But I made LL Speed, our director of intern education, Senior Patch, take you.
Yeah, I just shot my shot. I basically just said, hey, this is my experience. Here's what I'm going to do with my career. I'll leave my job, basically, if you give me an opportunity. You set up an interview. Well, you got me to send my resume first.
Formality.
Yeah. We set up an interview with Lucas. I did that on Zoom, and then I came in for an in-person coaching, like practical, which is a funny story. I actually ended up coaching one of Gary's sons. So I didn't realize who it was at first until I was like 10 minutes into the session, and I looked at his program and I saw his name, and so it was like a holy shit moment. I was like, oh damn, like this is Noah, Gary's son. And then after that, yeah, the rest is history.
I think there's a lesson in there though for kids and parents listening. Definitely for kids listening. Like you were willing to. The idea that you can get change without changing your environment is very, very difficult, right? Like,
yeah.
What's the feel of online? Like, something's got to change if something's going to change.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically.
So, yeah. I mean, something to that effect. And it is true. Like, you don't get to do both things. You don't get to have what you have and be like comfortable and, and cozy going through your day to day, and then also get something new. Like discomfort and. This aspect of stepping outside of who you are has to occur to get where you want to go.
100%. It wasn't comfortable, obviously, at first. Like,
of course. Even
to shoot you the message, I shot a message to you and like a few other companies actually, and I heard back from a few, and then
it's shocking, to be fair, and this is not because I'm big dogging you. It's shocking you heard back from me for how bad I am on my phone with social.
Yeah, no, it is. Now that I know you, it is very shocking. Like, I'm actually very surprised.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
Because now that I've known you for 2 years, know you pretty well now. That's uncommon.
I just
a random kid in your DMs. But also too, like when I came an intern for 4 months.
Yep.
To start before I got hired here officially.
Yep.
And that was still an opportunity to prove myself, obviously.
Yep.
Worked with you guys for 4 months through the summer. Got to learn from the whole staff. Obviously, work with a wide variety of clientele. Adults, kids, professional athletes, you name it. And give me an opportunity to obviously sharpen my skills, and work hard, show you guys what I got, and I'd say I think it went very well in my opinion. I was in grind mode. I was ready every day. I was here early. I was texting you when do you want me in? Showing up extremely early for no reason, just cause.
Hey,
Just trying to get my face out there, get my foot in the door, and
it is actually crazy. If you just hang around long enough somewhere, like most places will probably give you a job.
yeah.
If you're just around long enough, they're like, man, we just can't, like, this person's always here. You'll probably get a job.
I was lurking around for a while.
That's good. Hey, it worked out. It paid off. So anyway, and if you guys call and want to chat with the GRP team, there's a 50-50 chance, or probably a 60-40 chance that you get Hugo when you call in. So
Yeah, there's a good chance.
there you go. This
I'm on the phone sometimes.
yeah, working the phones.
When we're not in the gym, we're on the phones.
No, I think that's great. You also grew up. You grew up. I wouldn't call it in like a hockey family, but hockey's been a part of everything that you've done your whole life, really. Is
Yeah,
that a fair
yeah,
statement?
definitely, yeah. Like my family's not a hockey family by any means. Like, I mean, my parents are hockey people now, but they were not when I played. Like they gradually became hockey people through me playing.
Right.
Like my dad's an immigrant, so he didn't play hockey growing up. My mom didn't play sports growing up, but they were obviously immersed in Canadian culture, especially my dad coming from Italy. My cousin,
My boy, he's Canadian. He
yeah,
plays
like,
hockey.
my cousins convinced my dad to put me in hockey, which
is
I'm
that how it
glad.
happened?
That's basically how it happened. Like I wanted to play. Luckily, I skated like from a young age. I skated since I was 3, so there's a huge
That's
like
great.
barrier of skill entry that I was already
You already checked
ahead
off.
of. Yeah. But I didn't start playing until I was 10. So
Wow, I didn't
yeah, so
realize
I started
that.
pretty late.
And your cousins convinced your dad.
Cousins convinced my dad to put me in. Played house league. Started out there, and then eventually played a little bit of rep hockey. And yeah, it's been a big part of my life. We love the game, obviously.
Well, for your parents, like there's a lot of you. You have like what 6 siblings total,
5
right?
siblings.
Like 5 siblings plus
Yeah.
you, so 6.
Yeah,
6 kids
Six
total.
kids.
So your dad was probably just looking at the demand that is hockey, thinking like, no way I'm going to drive this kid.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, he probably didn't look at it that way. He's
No?
he's pretty generous with his time. Like
Okay.
he would do that for any of the kids. Like a few of my sisters did other activities. Like one played soccer. One did like singing, choir, piano. Another
Okay.
one did gymnastics. So like they were all in different things. To be fair, none of them at like highly competitive levels. So the demands weren't
Yeah,
insane.
crazy.
But
But still.
when you have that many kids, like there's lots going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm glad they put me in. Hockey is like honestly, it opens up a lot of opportunities. I think like the things you can learn through the sport are unmatched. Like it's obviously not just about actually like being good at the game, like but like the lessons you learn, and I'm sure you would agree. Like just doing your own sport, obviously coming up fighting. You played hockey too, so you get it. But there's so many things to learn along the way, whether you're playing AAA or not. Like
Yeah.
friendships, hard work, working in a team setting, overcoming obviously like different obstacles that you face as a player, positionally or whoever, like with coaching staff, different things, right?
No, I think hockey is just a microcosm. Sports are a microcosm for life.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the only spot, and I talk about this a lot, and I would say for older athletes too, like, you're done playing your youth sport experience, and then, you're about in the real world working. So I think training becomes the surrogate for it. Like that's where
Definitely.
you insert training. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a chance to mess up and learn things over and over and over again with low consequences. Losing the game doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
it does in the moment, but it doesn't matter. So, yeah, and then so East Side, Ajax, Pickering, out that way,
Ajax, Durham region.
Ajax, Durham region. Big moment last night for an Ajax boy.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
Connor McMichael,
Shout out Connor McMichael, Ajax guy as well.
what'd you think?
Uh,
For those that didn't see it, there's
yeah, I mean, like him and Jalen Chatfield on Carolina
Yeah.
got in a tilt, but it ended fairly quickly because of like a weird spin
hip toss,
hip
like
toss
basically,
by
like,
Chatfield, which like I didn't like at all personally. I mean, like where was the fight? Like the fight didn't happen. He just kind of tossed Connor. So I don't know. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was kind of a shitty move.
how
Dangerous.
Your Connor's what? He's probably like 5 years younger than you. Maybe?
Uh,
Who's coming up at your time when you were playing?
when I was playing, I mean, like I'm a '97, so it would have
Okay.
been like obviously McDavid would have been a
Right.
big one. Marner. I'm trying to think like GTA guys.
Or even just like out that way. I know like Shorzy, like Devon Shore. and
Oh yeah, Devin
Kajula.
Shore's a few years older than me, so
Yeah.
he was one. Kajula was another one, like in that area, kind of like Durham, Ajax guys. I'm trying to think who else. Like even guys we know. If I'm not mistaken, I feel like I remember Mitch Stevens
From that time,
out in like Peterborough, maybe.
Drake Kajula was an absolute god
Yeah,
at that time.
yeah, like weapon.
Stouffville Spirit. Where? So who did he play for then as a kid? Then was it
He
the
would have
Knights?
he would have
No.
played for APR.
APR.
Yeah, APR.
Stouffville Spirit.
Same as Devon Shore though too.
Then
APR.
off to North Dakota.
Yep.
Just lit it up.
Yeah.
Shorzy off to Maine.
Yeah. Few unreal hockey players. So
Was there a big culture at the time, like through that area, like Ajax? Did it feel like there was?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel, at least maybe just because I'm really into the game. Maybe I'm in my own bubble, but I feel like hockey was fairly big there growing up. Like
APR still has a good. They always have a good.
yeah,
team.
they still have a good squad. I don't know. I don't recall how strong they were at my age group when we would have been like minor midget. I don't think they were like one of the top teams by any means, but I think they were okay.
Yeah, they're 19. We have a few kids that play there. Like they.
Yeah,
they
I mean this year
qualified
they
for
were
the OHL
good.
Cup.
This year they were very good. But like when I would have been minor midget, or I guess U16, I don't remember how good they were. But this year they were good.
That immigrant hockey story is so fundamental to the Canadian journey for those families at the time. Like the Italian, like Sault Ste. Marie is mostly Italian.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like Italian, Portuguese, some French Canadian, some Polish, but like the heart of the city is Italian. And so all these people coming over, immigrating, and then I think about my dad and his brothers. Like they all got to play. This is hilarious. My parents, they grew up in that era. Like his dad was fresh off the boat. My grandmother came over after my grandfather had already been here for a couple of years, so she brought the kids over with her.
Yeah, same as my family.
Right? Like
yeah.
they obviously didn't have a lot of disposable income at the time for sports, and so my dad and my uncles each got to play 1 year of hockey, and then the way the story's told is like my grandfather was basically like, "You're not good enough. You're not playing again." So they got like one crack at it.
That's it.
And that was it.
One shot.
How
old would they have been?
I mean, they must have been.
Do you know?
They would have been in like late elementary school, start of high school, and then the Sioux's cold still, but at that time like really cold, like minus 20, minus 25 for like a good 6 to 8 week snap. And so my grandmother would lace up skates for them at the house. And so like once you went outside, if you take your hands out of your gloves, you're done, right? So my grandmother would lace up skates for them at the house. They'd tape on catalogs, like Sears style catalogs for shin pads,
Yeah.
right? Get their gloves, stick, jacket, toque. They jumped the backyard fence. So they lived on like this street called Brown Street, and at the time there was like a lot of immigrant families in the area. Streets are really tight together, so they jumped the fence from their place into their neighbor's backyard. They'd walk, obviously no skate guards. They'd walk like down their neighbor's yard, and then there'd be so much ice and snow pack that they could essentially skate down the road. So they'd skate down the road 5 or 6 houses, and then they'd do the same thing on the next 2 houses. So they'd walk through, jump the fence, walk through, and then there was a park there that had the rink.
That's awesome.
And so that's how they would get to the rink to play.
That's unreal.
The 3 of them, yeah. Throw their stick over the fence, skate down the road.
Good old Canadian immigrant story.
Well, yeah, but it was so core to being Canadian.
Yeah,
it was part of
100%.
having your kids be a part of Canada.
Yeah. Oh, my dad is like my dad's the biggest hockey guy now, like fan. I never played though, but like he was hilarious. I remember to be growing up and like for him he was just like I think he was just happy to like see me in the sport, see me playing. Like he'd be cheering for like both teams. Like I'd be playing a team. I remember I'd be a kid and I'd come out like after the game. I'd be like so upset with him because he clapped for like the other team if their goalie made like a nice save or something. I'd be like, Dad, like you can't cheer for both teams.
He's like, yeah, I can.
He's like, yeah, like,
Just enjoying the game.
Just want everyone to have a good time.
There to support. What a guy. Father
he's
Prince
awesome.
of
He talks it all the time. He misses it a lot. He
Does
misses,
he? Yeah?
he loved it because he would talk with all the parents and stuff. And I'd say a bunch of our good family friends are from hockey. Like my
Right.
best friend, still to this day, is from hockey. So,
That's awesome.
So shout out Elliot.
Shout out Elliot, hometown hockey. That's awesome. Okay, let's switch gears slightly. I wanted to chat about kind of expectations. So, you field a lot of incoming calls from parents and players. Between the two of us, I say we handle the lion's share, and so it's a challenging thing, right? You're bringing your child into a new environment.
Yeah.
You want them to do well. We're fortunate to have a pretty good reputation at this point. So, maybe you've heard about someone who's been here before and they've had a great experience, and this is what happened. So I'll give you an example. I talked to a parent yesterday. His kid's in his 3rd year training with us, 3rd summer. And he's like, oh man, it's been great. Like first summer, I think he gained 10 pounds, 12 pounds. Next summer, 15 pounds. Like, just we're so excited to watch him develop more this year, like see where it goes. Right. And so, that could happen, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
So what would you say to parents just around expectations?
I mean, I think like one of the biggest things is understanding like it's a process. Like you don't just change overnight or in a 4-week span or even an 8-week span. Like you will change in that time, but it also depends on what you put into it, right? So like understanding if you're training once a week, like that's good, but it's not going to yield massive results. Like that's going to help you be better, but it's not optimal, or it's not like as good as it could be, right?
Yeah.
So I think like to a new person coming into the gym, or a parent, like understanding that like what you do here with us matters a lot, and the time you're here matters, that hour you're in the gym, but like also like everything else you're doing matters too. So like, are you supporting your athlete, nutritionally? Are you getting them good food? Are you helping them meet protein requirements? Those sorts of things. Like, are you
Right.
getting good food into the system? Are you encouraging them to sleep enough? Are you getting them hydrated? Like these are all factors that matter too. And then also I would say like, communication with the coaching staff, with your athlete is huge in terms of like what you can expect. So understanding like, is your kid showing up and like ready to go, or are they just like dragging, like they don't really want to be there, right? So I think that's a big piece. Yeah, like what are your thoughts?
I think timeline's a big one too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
Yeah,
just,
like
yeah, the off season. So a good example is our off season. The program's incredible, but the program's only 8 weeks long.
Yeah.
If all you do is come just for the off season, right? Like we only have 40 training sessions basically.
yeah,
And so of those 40 training sessions, like 60% of them are strength-based sessions, 40% of them are speed-based. So it's like we might hit 24 basically strength sessions. So if you're not showing up properly fueled, if you're not showing up well rested and like mentally checked in, like there's not a lot of time.
no. No,
Right?
it goes fast. I mean, like, can you make some gains in that time frame? Of course,
Of
right?
course.
But like, you have to understand it's also like you stack time for the gym, right? Like you don't just get a result. Like if you see someone who's in incredible shape or an incredible athlete who's really strong, like they probably didn't just become that way by doing nothing, or doing a quick 8-week program. They've probably been doing it for years, stacking the progress, stacking the time, right? So that's a big factor for sure. Like understanding it's short windows of work, and like the idea is to get these players prepared and ready for the season in that time, but we have to be realistic too about like someone's not going to gain 25 pounds in off season of muscle. That's not possible in 8 weeks.
No,
And if someone's telling you it is, they're lying.
Yeah, that or they got a doctor that they shouldn't have.
Yeah, or they're doing something illegal.
What do you think is a realistic expectation if someone comes in, like, or in terms of weight gain? What's your guess for
Weight gain? I mean, yeah, I think you could put on a solid 5 to 10 pounds over an 8-week period if you're dialed in.
Like,
I think you really can.
Yeah, if you got 5, that would be really good. If you
Yeah.
got 10, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think 10 would be like high end.
Like
but
amazing.
I think it depends on, obviously it's going to, and like our answers in this field, a lot of times like it depends. Like it does. Like if it's a brand new athlete who's never trained, they've never really dialed in their nutrition much, like I think they're going to see massive results quickly. If it's someone who's more seasoned, I think, the gains are a little more marginal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So training age matters a lot.
Yeah, undoubtedly. The newbie gains are real.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What questions do you get asked most often by parents?
So this is a scenario we run into a lot. I think is always an interesting one. Is like, my kid didn't do well on their testing, or I want my kid to do better on their team testing. So like we're talking like combine style testing. So this is like sport performance testing. It could be, example would be like a pull up test. So I get asked that a lot, or I get presented that scenario a lot. It's like, oh, like my kid tested 5th on their team in this specific exercise. So like the first thing I try to do when I get presented that scenario is like, okay, well let's go through like the test and explain them so you better understand. Because a lot of times like parents just see a test and a number, and if they don't understand like sport performance or training, then to them it's just like, oh, my kid ranked 5th. That's not good enough.
Right.
So trying to explain that to them, I think is important, and helping them understand like that it is just a testing metric. It doesn't necessarily mean they're a worse or better hockey player. Is it nice to do well on tests? Of course. But it's not the be all end all. And then I think like the other thing is like, okay, well, like let's look at the consistency that your athlete trained. Like, if you are on a 3-month program with us and you're supposed to be in here 3 times a week.
For those listening, this is an exact scenario.
This is an exact
We
scenario.
had this last season.
So 3, you're supposed to be here 3 times a week. And life's going to happen. Some of these things come. You might not make all 3 every week, but if it took you almost 5 months to complete a 3-month program, then there's a consistency problem. If you took a vacation 3 times in that 3 months for a week each time, then there's a problem. Like, the consistency was a big issue.
Right.
That's not to say you shouldn't have time off, but like if your goal is this specific and you want to do better on testing, you want to be, yielding better results, then you need to be more consistent with your training, but obviously all the other factors too, sleep, nutrition, hydration, stress management. Like, the individual athlete, like, was gone all the time, and then their parent came back and was not happy with how they tested. And something I left out from that point is, like, this athlete was very new, and they actually did very well. But they didn't give us the opportunity to explain that to the parents. So
They had made big progress.
they actually had made great progress. I was very pleased with how they looked going into their testing.
Yeah.
And then, again, unrealistic expectations. The parent was dissatisfied that they didn't test better.
Right. Yeah, so you've got this, they, relative to their peers, they were not that good. But if you look at where they started initially relative to their peers, they were so far away.
Completely new to training this athlete. Like, they were killing it. I was so happy for them.
Right.
I think they were happy too, but the parent was not.
Got it.
Like, the kid loved it. We were having a great time.
Right.
Like, it was definitely a shock. So that's a scenario that happens, I'd say, like, fairly often. I think it's just a disconnect between setting the expectations on our end and having those expectations be realistic. And then I think part of that too is, like, the way media and social media plays into, like, what's realistic for athletes. Like, we're presented a lot of times online with, like, super jacked dudes all the time, but it's like, okay, well, that dude's been training for 15 years.
Yeah, he's on.
Or that dude's on testosterone.
And he's on some sort of pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like,
he's got great lighting and he's dehydrated.
So like, those are factors that play as well. I think that's something that people have to consider for sure.
Okay, then let's switch sides because you get asked so many questions. What would you say to a parent who's good mitts,
Good save.
good save? There we go. What would you tell a parent to ask if they're calling around? So let's say, you're advising them. They live in a different area. They're going to call a variety of different training facilities, interview them essentially for their kid, decide where the best spot is. What would you suggest they ask?
I would suggest that they ask, one, how many times a week can we train? What are the sessions, or what's the structure of the program in terms of, like, from start to finish for the athlete? When they come in, are they doing, like, an intake? Are they doing goal setting? Are they going through injury history and, like, health history? I think that's very important, because if you just show up to a place and you're just like, yeah, just hop in and train, I'd say that's problematic. Like,
if you just enter into a session.
Yeah, you just enter in. Like, not to say you can't just come and work out somewhere and try it out.
Yeah.
But I think, like, if you're signing up for a place and you want a legitimate program that's, made to what you're trying to do and your goals and your capabilities, then you need to do some sort of intake. I think, like, at least just to get an idea of where the athlete's at. Like, are a lot of youth athletes needing the same things? There's a lot of them need, like, the big buckets, like strength work, those types of things. Yes. But, like, I think you still need some sort of intake just to see where you need to go and what your history is. At least for an older athlete, definitely, I would say. Someone who's more experienced, especially with an injury. So that matters a lot. So that would be one thing I would definitely ask. What's the intake look like? Other thing I would ask is, like, how do we make the program? Is this program progressive? What does that look like? Because if your program is not progressing in some way, shape, or form, then you're not really getting anywhere. Then if you're an athlete, your goal is better performance. So it needs to be, obviously checking boxes and progressing. Then the other factors, like, I would say, or other question to ask is, what does the coaching staff look like in terms of, like, how are they coaching the athletes? Like, is it just, like, is the athlete just show up and grab their sheet and see ya, like, no interaction? Or is, like, someone in there coaching them, making sure they're doing things with the right intent, warming up correctly, progressing weights, sets, reps, whatever the factor might be? I think those matter a lot. Like, is the coach hands-on? Are they pushing this athlete to be better? Because that's why you hire a coach, is to be better.
Awesome. Wicked. I think we're coming up in probably like 25-ish, so kind of like right in our sweet spot here. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about the process that I should have?
As an athlete, like, coming in?
Yeah, just as, like, a parent.
I would say, parent process is a good one.
Just for the record, did not tell Hugo at all what we were going to talk about. So I'm
riffing here.
He's riffing. He's thinking on the fly.
I would say, like, the parent process, like, kids could probably spend, and this is a message we hammer home a lot, but kids could spend a little less time on the ice. Probably that doesn't mean they don't have to spend any time on the ice in their off season.
Right.
But, they don't need to skate 5 days a week. They don't need to train 10 times in a week. Like, we have a lot of youth athletes who come to us who will train with us 4 times, and they are coming to us off of They're coming to us at 2 p.m. in the afternoon off of a morning training session with someone else. It makes zero sense. Like, we would love to be the people to help you train as an athlete, but you know, if you're already working with someone else and you're trying to work with us at the same time, not that that's bad, but you don't need to, like, if you're 15 years old, if you're 12 years old, you don't need to double up on your training sessions on a Monday through Friday. You're just gassing yourself.
Work hard, rest.
Yeah, work hard, rest, eat well, sleep.
I like it. It's a wrap. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We'll have you back on, I'm sure. We'll get Guards back on here. I'm sure he's got a few questions for you.
Guards, love to be on with Guards.
Thanks, HP.